Hi, I'm Craig Catlett from United Methodist Communications. I'm a training and development specialist. So what that means basically is that part of my job is I go around and I help churches communicate better. It's a big portion of what churches do is communicate, right? And often what comes up is social media. People have all kinds of questions about how to make their social media better. Facebook is a big part of that. It's a huge part of that, actually. Facebook, at the time of this webinar right now, is still the largest social media application out there. And so there's lots of different angles that we could take when we want to talk about Facebook, lots of different skills that we could hone. But something that's overlooked a lot is how to promote specific events on Facebook. And we've got 30 minutes to talk about that today and some question and answer time built into the end. So let's get started. So let's start with the basics. We've got to walk before we can run. How do we get people interested in the event? How can you get your audience to investigate further about this event that you have going on Facebook? Well, first of all, you can make it easy for people to show interest in general. And so on your screen right now, you should see a Facebook post that says, "Getting Back to the Table." So you notice, first of all, they didn't just call it a potluck. A potluck may be accurate, but it doesn't exactly just draw your attention in and make people want to explore more. So you want to come up with a good name. Getting Back to the Table, it kind of has undertones that maybe there's a bigger event, a bigger movement going on. Maybe it goes along with the values of the church. And that's a good thing. So Getting Back to the Table, that's a nice, short, memorable title. And again, making it easy for people to show interest through giving them an option to explore more. So if you see at the top of the post, you'll see a red arrow that says "Click here." It's highlighting the "Click here" section to sign up for the church potluck. That's a great idea. You're generating interest through the title, and then you're giving them an outlet so they can explore it more. So if you're trying to generate interest, when should you start trying to generate this interest? I recently, in my own Facebook feed, got a surprise when I saw my own face show up in my Facebook feed. I was completely shocked. I'm helping out in an event in New England later on this year in November. So if you look where the red arrow is, I'm pointing out to the date here, April the 4th. So this coordinator of the event is like 7 months out promoting this event, and that's awesome if you have time to do that. That's obviously going to be a time commitment because you can't just start promoting an event 7 months in advance and then stop. So once you start, you're committed, right? Well, they apparently have the time to do that, and that's awesome for them. But for the rest of us, 6 weeks, that's a good time frame to start promoting your event. And you want to do it once a week from that point on. And also, you want to make sure that you're putting some posts out there on the day of. And we're going to talk more about that later. When you're trying to generate your interests, format matters. So take your hand and kind of cover the bottom side of this post that I've put up there. So not your average Joes. You've got this infographic there. If you take your hand and you cover that up, all you see is that plain text. And that's kind of bland, it's kind of blah. It's helpful informational-wise, but it doesn't really draw your attention in. Now if you move your hand and you cover up the first part of the text, first part of the post, all you see is the infographic. Kind of attractive, but it really doesn't give you enough information to work with that. But together, those work well. So this is a nice basic thing, a principle that you can apply is mix it up in your posts. Don't make it an either-or situation. And something that'll help you, because you're going to struggle at times to come up with content. If you start 6 weeks out, you're going to be thinking about how can I make this post interesting. You know, I'm talking about my event. You don't want to talk about everything that's going on in your event on the very first post. You don't want to go ahead and put it all out there all at once. Trinity United Methodist Church, I haven't seen all the posts leading up to this post promoting the event. In this particular event, they've listed a few different things. They've got Friday, movie night, Saturday gadgets, and then they talk about Kona Ice as one of the last things that you'll find there. This is fine to put all that out there, but if you take all of your information, you put it out there all at once, you may be struggling to come up with new and fresh content. So if you're thinking along the same lines that I am, what if you just save the different aspects, the different things that you can promote during this whole promotional period. If you take one post and you make it about the movie night, and then the next week you do another post to make it about the gadgets, and then another post might be about the Kona Ice. You're teasing the event, and you're also bringing, you're trying to bring out some anticipation. That's nice. I really wanted to include this post because it's just kind of interesting. Fun is interesting. That's going to generate some interest for you. As you're scrolling through your Facebook feed, there's so many things that we just pass. Won't even think twice about it, right? Well, I saw a kitchen sink here when I was choosing these images and choosing what to include in this, and I'm like, well, this is pretty random. I love this. Fun is interesting. The Cedar Falls First United Methodist Church has this event going on, and the doors open tomorrow afternoon, and they found this nice fun image to throw in there to catch your attention. Which segues into what I want to talk about next, which is choosing compelling images for your to represent your event. Images are what catch people's attention in the Facebook feed. I can't tell you how many times I'm scrolling through Facebook, and the more text I see, I'm more likely just to keep on swiping, keep on scrolling. The Village is a church that has a great reputation in the Nashville area. They do a lot of outreach, and they also have a pretty strong social media game. And I grabbed this post and put it up there. It immediately caught my eye out of all the posts that I could use to throw in here because there's a backpack. And why it caught my eye is because I have school-age children. And my first thought was, hey, there's something here that my kids can use. Your images should represent what's as closely as you can what's going to be going on at the event. Like at the Back to School Bash below, I'm automatically going to assume that they're going to have some fun stuff for my kids to do there, even before I read it. It says food, fun, and inflatables, but even before I read it, I see an inflatable in the background, and I know, oh, hey, my kids love inflatables. I'm more likely to stop scrolling and to look at it simply because of that image. Mentioning the Village again, another example of an image speaking to what is going to go on at your event. The Village has a reputation of serving the community, and they grabbed an image that they used, that they took last year at this Scent event that they did. And they used it as their cover photo. And so they switched out the cover photo of what would usually be there to promote their event. Join us this Sunday as we go into the community to help schools, pack meals, and create a care package. This is not such a rare thing that people are doing this, but what you can also see here that takes a little bit of extra work, that takes it up a notch, is that they've superimposed text over the image. You may not know how to do this. You can do it in Photoshop. You can do it even in PowerPoint. I've messed around in PowerPoint before and managed to superimpose some text over pictures. Canva or PicMonkey are free options that you can use to superimpose some text over a picture. So if that's not something that you've done yet, I might consider that. A quick note about images, though. Many events that churches do involve kids. So it makes sense that you're going to want to take an image of a child or children and put that on your page. People usually stop and ooh and ah at those pictures because kids are so cute. But make sure, if you're going to use these images, that you get parental approval first. Just a note. But back to the using compelling images. I really like the summer movie night image on the left. It's modern yet artsy, but when I look at it, I also can tell because of the design that if this is an ongoing thing, they're going to be able to just pull the movie logo out and keep inserting different movies in there. It can be a trending thing that they do. And nothing says pool party like a beach ball and a pool. So an often overlooked tool that people forget is creating an actual Facebook event page. You may not be familiar with this. I wasn't always familiar with this. The Facebook event page is a separate page in and of itself from your own Facebook page. It's an offshoot. Let me show you how to do that. Let me show you how to create one of those. On the left, on your screen, you'll be able to see what an event page actually looks like. It gives you a little bit of information about the back to school supper and the date. Also of note is if you go down about halfway, just under halfway on that post, you'll see something about how many people are going and how many people are interested. This is really good. If you can get enough people interested, it gains momentum and it makes your event look good. On the right, you'll see a post in a Facebook feed, in a regular Facebook feed, that is advertising the event, and you'll see at the bottom right of that post a button that says interested with a red arrow pointing down to that. If your post is good enough, if your post does what it's supposed to do and gains attention and gets people interested, they can actually click on the interested button, and from that point on, whenever you make an update to the event page, they'll be able to see that update in their own feed. If you've ever done anything in Facebook with events before, you'll probably recognize this page. So if you scroll down on the left-hand side of your screen on your Facebook feed, you'll see the events section. If you click on that, you'll be able to see a button that says Create a Page. This is what will happen when you click that Create a Page button. So the very first option there on the left, numbered 1, you'll see a box that pops open that says Create Private Event or Create Public Event. You're going to want to create a public event because you want as many people as possible to be able to see what's going on. You're going to also want to make yourself the host of this event, which I don't have pictured here, but it's an option. And then you'll want to put a really good image there. And that's what you do in step 2. You'll be able to advertise the times and the dates for the event, and then you were going to grab a really eye-catching post to stick in there. So why go through all the trouble for creating your own event and event page if you don't max it out with the appropriate image? So Facebook is a tool for the people. People are what make Facebook work. And it makes complete sense with as many churches that are using Facebook and as many people within the churches that are using Facebook that you would reach out to your congregation and say, hey, can you help us with this event? We're trying to get the word out as much as possible. So start marketing your event through other people's Facebook page. Here, Garner United Methodist Church in North Carolina, they say, hey, Garner, UMC peeps, help us to spread the word by liking and sharing our craft fair Facebook page and event. It just makes sense when you think about it. You can get a grassroots movement started just from announcing it in church and encouraging people to start to share it on their own. Before this training, I had never thought about what I'm about to tell you about right now. You can create a graphic, size it as a profile picture, and ask people to make it their profile picture. You can actually put an ask out there and say, will you donate your profile pic? So a couple of weeks leading up to whatever event you have going on, if you've already done the work to create a smaller graphic, you don't want to do anything big, something smaller that people can stick into their profile pic, you'll have some free advertising every time somebody makes a Facebook post. You always see the person's picture. Another out-of-the-box idea for promoting your event is to have someone else do the marketing outside of the church for free. I have an image on your screen of Glendale United Methodist Church in Nashville, and they are actually known for the social media, and you're actually going to be able to talk to someone who handles the social media there at the end during the Q&A. Stephen Adair, who works at United Methodist Communications, handles Glendale United Methodist Church's Facebook page. So he may even be responsible for this post. We have to ask him later. But in the upcoming events section, you can kind of see Glendale's strategy of what they're doing. They're connecting their church to their community by putting community events in their feed. They have something for J.T. Moore Middle School and another nonprofit, the Room in the Inn in Nashville. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a church. You can partner with other nonprofits in the community and scratch each other's back and get some advertising that way. Here's what it looks like when a church is helping another church. We've got Galloway United Methodist Church sharing Oakland United Methodist Church, what they have going on, the free community pig roast, which actually sounds really good. Co-hosting is something you see in the business world a lot. If you've ever been to a large event, you may see a whole list of sponsors. Well, you can get co-hosts on Facebook. When you look at the left and you see the image for movie night on Brookside, right under that, where the red arrow is pointing, you'll see hosted by Brookside Collective and 2 others. So if you were to click on the 2 others, you'll see the image on the right. This is what happens. It pulls up everyone that's involved with that event. And you even have a First United Methodist Church helping out the Brookside Collective. So make some contacts in the community and say, hey, we can start to promote your event. Would you help us and promote ours? And you can have some free advertising that way. And I leave this for next to last, because what you want to do, a good strategy, is to exhaust all of your organic reach. That's your natural reach. That's asking the people that you know in the congregation to do this and using your other strategies. You want to get all that natural reach going before you finally start putting some money into it. Paid advertising is what you want to use last. So Facebook makes money off of several different things. One of those is when you pay for an ad. There's not enough time in this webinar to go over how to create an ad, but we can talk about boosting really quickly. As I've traveled around and talked to different church leaders, you would be surprised how many people still aren't boosting. Organic reach, where something goes viral because you've created, the best image and the most creative text out there, and it just catches fire and people are sharing left and right. It's a white squirrel. It hardly ever happens that way. A lot of the stuff that does really well on Facebook is boosted. The screenshot on this slide was taken from our Rethink Church admin page. If you've ever been to the Insight section of the admin page, you've seen something like it. On the screen, you can see reach and engagement for 1 week of posts in April of 2016. You see minimal reach and engagement except for the post on April the 27th. The April the 27th post is the boosted post with engagement and reach that, as you can see, it just triple and quadruples anything that's already been on there. You would be surprised, though, how affordable boosting remains. You don't have to break the bank in order to get those type of results. This is what your screen looks like when you're building your boosted post. But before I mention anything else, your eyes will likely be drawn to the section that says total budget, $500. That amount is not typical for most small businesses and nonprofits, especially churches. You can boost a post for $5 and still see results. When boosting, choose demographics. You can see there the age range, 18 to 65. You just need to give some thought to your target audience about who you're trying to reach. Younger parents, people, the baby boomer generation, they're all on Facebook. You just need to give it some thought. It doesn't show it on the screen, but you'll have an opportunity to boost the post to people within a certain mile radius of your church building. There will be a time question asking for how long you'd like to boost the post. It'd be a good idea to boost your post all the way up to the day of your event once you've exhausted all your natural reach. And as a matter of design practice, you'll see some consistency between boosted posts and what we've already discussed in the webinar. Boosted posts should be different from each other. Each time you boost a post, use a different image or graphic or different text in the post or anything like that. You can also boost your post, your actual event page, rather, and select friends of attendees and friends of people who like your page. So you are boosting your content out to people who are actually interested in the event, and you already know that. You can set this demographic as part of the parameters. You can start this boost process from the Boost Event button in the top right-hand corner of the Facebook event page, and you can select other demographic information here as well. So, after you've done all of this leading up to the event, you're going to want to create some buzz on the day of. On the actual day of the event, we're not quite off the hook yet. We want to do some day of promoting. Here's an ad from Galloway United Methodist Church. There's a post there boosting their event. They're just trying to remind people the event's going on today, and as they say at the top, it's not too late to register. Join us tonight at 5 o'clock. Today is the day. They also have a hashtag, which is a great practice to do. If you look to the right-hand side of the ad, you'll see the hashtag Beds for Kids, and I'm assuming that that is some type of benefit, something they're going to do to help other people. And another great way to promote your event on the day of, it's something that's caught fire this past year. You'll probably notice as you're scrolling through your Facebook feed, tons of video. I just, 10 minutes ago before we started this, maybe 20 minutes ago before we started this webinar, I was scrolling through Facebook and I was watching a pastor go live, and he was using Facebook Live. Facebook Live is so easy, and the Facebook algorithm actually favors video using Facebook Live. So if you were to link off to YouTube usually in your Facebook feed, Facebook Live is something that's more likely to show up in someone else's Facebook feed because Facebook wants you to stay on Facebook. The picture that I have on your screen right now is kind of a collage that you'll see. It's a great idea to put together a bunch of images and send them out about 30 minutes before the event. In this collage, you'll often see video too. Facebook Live can be thrown in there as well. You want to do it 30 minutes during. You'll take if you open up your Facebook app and look to the top left-hand side, you'll see the button that says Live. When you click that, take a shot of yourself, take a shot of the signage, and just give a brief, hey, this is who I am, here's what's going on at the event, and try to showcase the excitement that's going on. Interview people, get that lined up, and then also ask people to check in when they're at the event. We don't want all of this information that I'm just giving you to be a one-way situation. If you are streaming this webinar from the website, you should see a red box that should allow you to send us messages and ask us questions. So I have that up on the screen. If you can find something that looks just like that, we'll take your questions now. I think some have been coming in during the webinar, and we'll get to our Q&A. To my left over here, you're going to see Stephen Adair, who's the gentleman that I mentioned earlier, who handles the social media for Glendale United Methodist Church, and he's going to help me out with the questions as well. So I'm going to take a second and consult my question sheet and see what we've gotten so far. Okay, Stephen, feel free to chime in anytime you want if you like. It says, you say post once a week. Meanwhile, I'm glad this is a good one. I've meant to say this. Meanwhile, I am posting a bunch of other things that are not concerned with the event. Will the event post get lost? Is once a week enough? So if you're already on a tight Facebook schedule, and let's say you're posting a few times a week for Facebook already, and then you start adding this Facebook event on top of that, have you ever felt like you're getting spammed through Facebook before? What you might want to do is start to exchange one of your regular Facebook posts for one of the Facebook event posts. I'm not sure so much about it getting lost. There is some debate, and Stephen, you can chime in here if you want to, about what do you think? Is once a week enough for an event post?
I think once you get closer to the event, of course, when you're far out, you don't want to overpost about what's coming, because people are, when it's coming up is when they really kind of keep it in their mind. So, if you're months out, you don't want to post so frequently about it. But once you're coming up to it, a week or two out, I don't think it would hurt to post once or twice a week, and especially the day leading up and even the day of, just to remind people at the last minute. And, in a way, you don't want to compete with yourself on your Facebook page. Right. I think it's a healthy thing just to show that your page is active, to post at least 3 or 4 times a week, different content. And with Facebook, not all of your audience is actually going to see each post. So, so posting a couple times of the same thing with different graphics or different text, of course, would be good. And it's not going to overly spam. And also you can boost, you don't have to boost everything, but like you said, you can boost a post for $1. So for my local church, I boost most of our posts for $1 each. And I just pay for that out of my pocket, and it just doesn't cost that much to reach so many people, and we've seen such good return on that. So when you're boosting an event, you can boost it for 3 days or however long you want to. And in a way, if you're not over posting in general on your page, you shouldn't really be competing with yourself. So you just don't want to be boosting multiple things at the same time to the same audience. And especially depending on what your event is, like if it's, our young adult group is thriving right now at my church. So, we have events on Facebook that are geared towards young adults. So I target a certain age group, a certain location. So really using your targeting, it's very easy to do, helps not overpopulate people's feeds or spam them per se.
Gotcha.
Either. So
I got you. Nice. Someone was asking about compelling images. Are faces of real people, real members, the best? So the alternative to that would be, are you using stock images? Are you grabbing things that may look professional but aren't necessarily representative of your church, right? And so I think this is a great question. In terms of using faces, the numbers show, I can't quote all the studies here or whatever, but the numbers show that pictures of people interacting where they're having some type of connection really draw people in. They're really good for engagement. Instagram, there's been a study on Instagram showing that pictures of people interacting where you can tell their faces are turned to each other and it's fairly zoomed in on that or whatever, get more engagement. There is and I'll tap your expertise here if you want to or whatever. How much of this should be real from your own church and how much should be aspirational, maybe so to speak? That look how wonderful our church is. Look at these awesome images. But maybe it is representative of real members of your church, maybe not. Do you have any thoughts on that? And just this is for not the denomination, but for the local church, I think you have to figure out a healthy balance of, we've started fitness classes, so I did use stock imagery, but I didn't use people's faces because they're not real people in our community. I see.
So
yeah.
I think that there's a way to use some sort of stock imagery that's helpful and shows that you're not trying to represent your community with these other people that are from, wherever. But I think really for event graphics to use, I think if you like the eclipse, so the solar eclipse was a big thing a couple weeks ago, and find an eclipse photo online, find something that's specific to the event, because in some ways I think using real people would be helpful, but also you have to frame those real people in a good way.
Yeah.
Not only do you need to get their permission to use their image, but just as an example, there's a church that I've seen on Facebook, and if they're promoting a worship service or something, they'll take a photo from the back of the sanctuary, and there's like 20 people in this huge sanctuary. So you have to also frame your photos to where it looks good, and make somebody want to come. Some churches don't utilize photography in the best ways to reach out to that person on the outside that might be interested in your event or service or whatnot. So you just have to really think smart about the images you use. And as far as people, if it's a good image, I don't, I think people respond more to like beautiful landscapes, an event-specific kind of image than a person's face. because for one, they don't know that person. So I mean, if it's a kids event, if you have permission to use their image, I think kids are a big selling point for people to come to an event if it's kid specific, or even your church, because kids denote there's new life and there's excitement and
everybody
stuff.
wants kids, right?
Yes. So I think using that to your advantage, you just have to use images to where it looks like there's something going on and there's excitement if you're going to use people. So
one of the questions was, do you have some recommendations for sites for images, graphics, and other ways to have pictures? Which I think we kind of touched on that a little bit just now. Can you cancel an event on Facebook? I've never done that before.
You can delete an event, yes.
Okay.
But I think it does notify whoever is attending or interested in your event that you have canceled it. So just keep that in mind if you need to cancel it. And you might just, instead of canceling it, if it actually happens, then it just, it's a past event, so just there's no point to delete it. But if it gets canceled for something, it might be good to actually notify by writing in the event itself why you're canceling instead of just deleting it without any explanation. So, yeah.
Okay. Someone's asking, how does one check in? I know attending, but don't know how to do it to check in.
It depends on if you're on your computer or your mobile device. You can either go to the event, and I believe when the event's actually happening, there's a check-in button somewhere on that event, on the page itself. But you can also just check in using your normal feed where you would post a status, and there's a little check-in button. Right. So you can check in that way too. But I think on the event there's a place to check in somewhere.
Here's another interesting question, and I get this a lot when I'm out at different trainings for a bunch of different things. Where's the best place to find those stock images that we were referring to? So you always get a win with Shutterstock, but you have to pay for that image, usually $30, and then there's a package deal for more where you can get 5 images and things like that. But as far as free goes, well, first of all, we'll talk about the UMCOM Asset Bank. United Methodist Communications has thousands of images that you can use for free. If you type in UMCOM or United Methodist Communications Asset Bank and Google or Bing that, it's one of the first options that comes up. And you can have access to all of ours. There's a process, but you go in and you create an account and just tell us what you're using it for. You can have all of those. Unsplash? Unsplash is another good one. Do you use Unsplash a lot?
I've not.
You have not used Unsplash?
Not.
Which ones do you favor?
For the local church, just not professional per se, or finding these just professional grade images of Asset Bank. I've used some of UMCOM's images as well, but you can just do a Google search for something. Like, that's where I get a lot of our local church photos.
And you type in free images, or?
No, so I just type in, the Eclipse image that we used, I found it on Google. The fitness, we started fitness classes in my local church, so I've pushed out a bunch about that and used images for different, like the yoga class, the fitness class, the running group. You just find that on Google and you just type it in, but make sure that there's a way to select on Google the usage rights, and just make sure it's not copyrighted. And there's just a ton of free images just on Google. So, use our Asset Bank, of course, but you can find those images. Just make sure you have permission to use them before you use them. Okay.
Could you please talk more about PicMonkey and Canva free apps? Thank you. That's from Melody in UMC Virginia Beach. I'm not using PicMonkey and Canva as much as I know some of the other people are. Have you ever used?
I don't use PicMonkey, but Canva we use a lot for cover photos, or really even just spiritual development memes that are on the United Methodist Church Facebook page. You can overlay text. You can edit the image. You can put images together with the borders. It's free, so it's a really good tool to update and modernize imagery that you use.
And how long should a Facebook Live event run? I know some people that they'll just throw their whole service on Facebook Live or whatever. That'll be like, well, you've got to cut the music out, but I've heard mixed things about doing that, because can we really hold someone's attention on Facebook Live that long for, say, 30 minutes or something like that, if you've got a person's sermon going on there? But I've known people go longer or whatever. my personal thing that I tell people to do is if you can, if you know up front you're going to have, this is the biggest, bang for your buck, this is the most interesting part or whatever, I go and I catch 10 minutes of that or 15 minutes of that and keep that on Facebook. And that's what I tell people, though. What have you run into?
I don't think there's a magic number. I think when you're Facebook Living, you just have to keep into account that it's going to take a second to build your audience at the beginning. So don't start it right off with something strong. Like even this webinar right now is being on United Methodist Communications Facebook page and is streaming live. There was some feed time before you actually started in on the webinar just to build your audience. So a good 30 seconds of either just fluff, like introduction, whatnot, before you really start in on what's going on. But, I think if your worship service is something, that's just one example, or your event is something to share with the community. I mean, there's people at home that, I'll just use worship, I guess, that can't be there or can't attend, and they would actually enjoy doing that. And as long as you have there's a streaming license that you have to get if you have music. I think that's like $60 a year or so. And if you're at an event, if there's music in the background, just make sure you have the proper licenses to do that. But I don't know if there's a magic number or magic time frame. You could do, a few minutes to service. So
people are still trying to figure out the best things for Facebook Live, I think, since it's so new. And I know you can pin an event or post to the top of your page. Is this a good idea? Have you run into that?
It can't hurt. You do have the option to pin a post. I don't think people really go to your Facebook page a lot, like your church page, Facebook page, and I think that's another question that's coming up. In all this, we're talking about churches having a Facebook page versus a group.
Yeah.
So a group is more internal. So if you have a UMW circle or young adult group or whatnot, if you want to communicate internally with that, you can always add new people to that. But we're talking about a Facebook page, which is outward facing and external to really promote your church and your events and stuff. So what was the question?
Just asking if it was a good idea.
Yeah, it can't hurt. It's there for that. Oh, yeah, and also, I don't think a lot of people go to your Facebook page a lot. So whatever you're posting is showing up on people's news feed.
Right.
And they might come to your actual Facebook page, but really when people are seeing your content, it's your post in their own news feed versus actually coming to your church's Facebook page.
Right. Here's one. Should we have a Facebook event for all our regular events, such as a monthly book study, UMW work party, monthly group dinners? What about our Sunday worship services? I say no. I say every event that you put on that event page is going to make every other event less important, if that makes any sense. So if you have a ton of events on your event page, it's just going to double as your church calendar, and it minimizes anything that you're really trying to get traction on and draw attention to. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with that completely.
I mean, definitely promote your services and your events, in normal posts. There should be a promotional post about your worship service during the week at some point. There should be a promotional post if you're starting something new that's just ongoing. But as far as an event, I think it takes something special like a solar eclipse party or, that fall festival or whatnot you really want new people that are outside of your church to come to, not just a rotating event of a weekly worship service or anything. So I agree with that.
Yeah, good deal. Is Instagram good for promoting event? I'm trying to read. Is Instagram good for promoting events, or more of a what's happening now images? We're talking about Facebook. I did briefly mention Instagram earlier. Do you have an opinion on that?
The thing about Instagram is that what we use it for on the local church and as a denomination is just photos of what's going on. It's not really, I don't personally use it as hey, check this out, it's coming. The issue with that is you can't actually have links, and you can have a link in the post, but it's not actually going to be a live link. So unless you have a friendly URL if you're in charge of your church's website, like just for example, GlendaleUMC.org/worship or / Fall Fest, or if you don't have something that's friendly, that's just this long URL, then nobody's going to take the time to actually type that in, or they'd have to go back and forth. So as far as event promotion, you can totally throw up a picture of there with your graphic of, I did that for our solar eclipse party, saying, hey, come to this. And so, you can definitely utilize it as that. I would probably gear more on Facebook. You're going to get a lot more traction on Facebook and using events on there to get people to come.
I agree, and it's probably worth saying too that the demographic for people that use Instagram, based on what the statistics show, take it with a grain of salt, it shows a much younger demographic using Instagram than the people that tend to comprise Facebook. You'll get some older millennials that are really into Facebook, but and then Gen Xers and baby boomers, but the younger millennials who love Instagram, not so much for Facebook. So, can I send an invitation to all my page followers to the event, or only my friends? Can I send an invitation to all my page followers to the event, or only my friends? I don't know the answer to that.
I don't either, actually. You can definitely invite your friends, and I think when you create, as your page, create an event that lives on your church's Facebook page, I'm pretty sure it'll send out a notification to all of your followers saying that your church is hosting whatever the event may be. So I don't know if you can necessarily go down the list and hit invite to all your page followers, but I think that they will get a notification, I believe, saying, this is happening. So that's probably the best way to do that. And hopefully by posting the event on Facebook and emailing it out or whatnot, you can get people to RSVP and say that they're coming, because the more people that are coming internally, then that creates a buzz itself for external or an outside audience to say, oh, I might want to check this out if there's not 0 people coming. So definitely engage your audience that you already have, your congregation, to engage with the event on Facebook. So that'll encourage outside participation as well, I think.
And it looks like this could be our last question. How about using video announcements to promote an event in advance? Is this a good idea? I think so.
Yeah. I think video is, you could do Facebook Live like you were saying that pastor was doing.
Yes.
To promote an event. And the good thing about Facebook Live that we haven't talked about is that when your page goes live, it actually notifies your followers that you're going live. So it's actually better than just posting a pre-recorded video, and then just posting it. So you can totally do that, which is better than just a text post. But if you can do live, if your pastor or whoever's leading the event or somebody that's just, going to be good on camera and engaging, I think that would be better than just a text post. Even with a photo, video, people are going to engage with a short video announcing your event. Don't go 45 minutes explaining your event on Facebook, but a couple minutes or a minute or two would be good.
So we're getting a lot of questions about video recording on this webinar in general. So we're getting a lot of them coming through. The recorded webinar of what we've done today is going to be archived. To watch it, just click the link that you clicked to view this live webinar, and it will be available later on today. I'm going to leave you with a slide of my information. I'm Craig Catlett, again, the Training and Development Specialist, and that's my email address. If I don't know the answer to your question, if we didn't cover it today, we didn't get to whatever, or if you just want me to elaborate on some things, shoot me an email. I'll be happy to get back with you. If it's something that I don't know, I'll probably hit Stephen up or someone else in this office. We've got a lot of smart people. So thanks for joining us today for this webinar. There's lots of things that you can learn and check out on Facebook. I'll point you to a training that we have on the training website here at United Methodist Communications. We've got what's called a micro training, meaning you can finish it in like 10 minutes, about boosting and ads all in itself. So if you go to the United Methodist Communications website and just look up the training homepage, you'll be able to find that fairly easily. Stephen?
Yep.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Everyone, thanks for joining us.